Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Access Your Mastermind. I'm your host, Julie Oldberry. All month long, we've been exploring one of the most powerful principles in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, the principle of desire. We've broken down why a burning desire is the starting point of all achievement, how it fuels persistence, and why it's the one thing that separates wishful thinking from unstoppable determination. And today, as we wrap up this month's discussion, we're diving even deeper with a very special guest who embodies this principle in action. We're thrilled to welcome Julia Gale, a raw foods cancer coach, certified detox specialist, and lymphatic iridologist. Julia spent over a decade in the medical field as a speech language pathologist before realizing that she didn't truly own her life. Searching for purpose, she explored real estate and network marketing, but it wasn't until tragedy struck, watching her beloved aunt battle cancer for 3 years and her mother face breast cancer for the fourth time, that she knew exactly where her desire was leading her. Julia made a bold decision to dedicate her life to helping people reclaim their body's natural ability to heal. She co-founded Nourish Life Apothecary and the Nourish Life Warriors private community, a mission-driven space designed to help people restore their health and live out God's abundant plans for their lives. In this episode, Julia will share how desire, fueled by faith and purpose, has shaped her journey, what she's learned about true health and healing, and why aligning with a deep, meaningful mission is the key to creating lasting impact. If you've ever questioned whether your own burning desire is enough to change your life or the lives of others, this episode will light that fire within you. Let's dive in. Hello,
Hi, Julia.
Julia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thank you so much for
Great.
having me.
It's so
Welcome to
awesome
our
to see
podcast.
you.
Yes, I'm
Thank you for
excited.
being here with us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome.
So, Julia, this month we are speaking about the principle of desire from Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill. And we're very interested in hearing about your personal experience to success and just how much and how important desire really meant to you for your success. So, in chapter 2 of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill outlines 6 steps for developing a burning desire. The first step is to create a fixation in our minds on what we truly want. In your own experience, have you personally used this formula to achieve your success?
Yes, I've had multiple iterations of employment in different sections of my life in order to get here. Like I was a medical speech path for 12 years. I have my master's degree in that. I left that to get into real estate. Then I left real estate to get into what I'm doing now with health and wellness. So at each of those steps, I had to, number one, feel some pain, because when you don't feel pain, you don't move. Like it's not a force that you have to, like, what's the problem you're trying to solve? So when I was trying to leave Western medicine, I was making dream boards. I was visualizing. I was reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, stuff like that, because I was unhappy. I had to do something. Like I had to make some change. I didn't even care if I had my degree. Everybody was like, "What are you doing? You're crazy. Like, where are you leaving your master's?" I'm like, "I'm not happy. I've done it for 12 years. That's good enough." you know?
Wow.
So I just started that visualization process and seeing myself as the person I wanted to be. So that helped me move to the next stage of things. And I noticed I had to kind of do that every time I moved to the next iteration of my journey. And so where I'm at now with a holistic health and wellness business, I had to, every time you keep stepping out in faith, and you see, like the picture becomes more and more clear. So you just have to keep pushing yourself that way. But yeah, I did a lot of visualization and just keep, you're avoiding that pain point. That pain point pushes you. So that's really how I ended up with what I'm doing now.
Julia,
Wow.
were you like working for a, not like an employer and everything, and you completed your master's degree, or you were in the middle of it, or you finished it, and then you just decided like I'm not happy and I want to pursue something that feels right to me, and you kind of just like left that? Like tell us more,
Yeah.
like what was that about? How did that go?
So I went to school, got my master's degree, and I have a speech language pathology master's degree. So I was working in the field for 12 years. So I was working in acute care hospitals, rehab hospitals. I worked with TBI, spinal cord injury, just very heavy
Wow.
things. I was a director, I was a supervisor, I was doing directed research. I was managing staff, I was taking sick calls, I was getting anxiety every Friday and Sunday nights. Like Friday morning, Sunday nights, I would be like, hey, who's gonna call in sick today? Like it was just like a becoming, and I couldn't fix everybody too. The suffering of people, and we didn't have the medical technology and everything now to relieve their pain. I was so just the system, what I could and couldn't do. And I just was like, there's a better way to live. I'm not going to be a 50-some-year-old therapist begging for time off over the holidays. So I had to do something differently. And people, it's a very desired position. We always need, rehab professionals. So I had job security forever. But people are like, what are you doing? You're walking away. You have a master's. What do you do? You spend a lot of money. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not happy. I was in it for 12 years. I feel like I had done everything I wanted to do without going and getting my PhD, which I certainly wasn't going to do that. So that's how I left. And I let my license go. And I was like, yeah, I've had 12 years. That's good enough. I wanted to be happy. I wasn't going to let that hold me back. The safety of that profession.
And are you happy today, Julia?
Oh yeah, this is way more in line with I feel like God's purpose and like yeah, I'm able to more address those pain points and the people suffering than I ever felt like I could as a Western medicine speech pathologist. So
Well,
Wow.
congratulations to you stepping out and, doing what felt right to you. And now look at you. I know the success you're having and, like a rising star in Nebraska and all of this. So it's like just amazing. So congratulations to you for, doing that, for being there for yourself and trusting like in yourself to take that step and that kind of
exactly.
leap of faith. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
It is a leap of faith, right? Right, Julia and
Yeah.
Julie. I mean, that resonates with me, Julia, your story, because before this, I had a move-in household company
Mm.
where I was able to grow it pretty large and successful, but just the stress of it. And you mentioned something about Friday between Friday and Sunday night. Are people going to call in? Are people going to show up? I that's one thing that I did deal with quite often, and it wears a person down. And like my own experience was wanting to when I was speaking with my wife's like, well, "What are you going to do?" like like because I had done it 11 years, but I'm grateful in these 11 years that I was able to study and read and really learn this philosophy of Napoleon Hill and just more entrepreneurship. So I know the feeling that the fear, right? Maybe a little fear, but more the wanting to get out over trump the fear. So I applaud you for taking that step of faith.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. My friends said, because I was on so many publications and media at the hospital, then I was in real
Wow.
estate, I was on billboards, and they're like, your face is like everywhere. Like, how many people are on billboards and media for multiple industries? But yeah, it's funny. Like, I thought yesterday, I'm like, wow, I had in the 6 days or 6 years I worked at my last hospital profession, I took 3 sick days. It's like, and I thought, I thought I was great. I'm like, good job. You only took three. But now I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. I pushed myself so much. And I expected that of my staff too. It's like, yeah, you don't have to be 100% to be here, And now, as an entrepreneur, like we're like, we only expect 100%, like that's what we have, different standards for ourselves. Like we always show up. So it's just a whole different mental attitude, from employee to like owning your own life and being able to make those decisions. And oh, it's just such an amazing, amazing feeling.
And I like to just kudos to both of you. Julie and I have been working together for about a month now, and I just applaud her because she doesn't stop. But it's a fun work, right? It's something that we're passionate about. It's something that drives us. We don't need alarm clocks, right? We're ready to wake up and living our life the way that we want.
That
And
is true, Nick. I do feel
yeah,
like that, right? Like I every day, I'm excited to wake up. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's hard to like shut myself off at night. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like just to be like, okay, you need to rest now. 'Cause
Right.
the stuff, it just keeps going, but it's also good.
Mhm.
And like
yeah,
it feels good. But I have to remember like to take care of myself too, even through the goodness, right? Like,
absolutely.
there you can't avoid self-care even though everything else is going well.
Even though you're
Body
having fun.
needs to rest.
Yeah.
And Julia, Napoleon Hill lists 12 steps to riches.
Mhm.
And when I'm a person who carries the book Think and Grow Rich. Like I'll be at a football game, Julia, and I have the book. I kind of I think that I carry it so people will ask me about it. But when they see the title Think and Grow Rich, everyone thinks about money. But when Napoleon Hill makes the list of the 12 riches, the money's on the very bottom. Money's 12th on the list. And so just everything that you've said, you're rich. You stepped out in faith and you're happier, you have joy, you have peace, you're taking better health, taking better care of your health.
Yeah.
So I believe that is really authentic. That is rich. That's true riches.
For sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Yes.
Do you believe we can condition our minds to think in a way that aligns with success? And how so?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like we
Great
can
question.
condition ourselves to believe negatively, like sometimes that's our default. Like we forget how to dream. We forget like that it isn't just this robotic get up, go to work, complete tasks, collect a paychecks, turn on the news, make dinner and do like we're so conditioned for that and we don't even realize it. And so when people actually start to identify these concepts and think like, oh, I can reprogram myself, and then they start to do it a little bit, they see that there's such a rub there that's so
Mhm.
different from what they've been experiencing this whole time. But then once they keep doing it, they see that alignment with the universe and with God, like that, they incrementally start seeing those being in resonance and being in alignment starts to change little things. Then they're like, oh my gosh, this actually works. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying to do it. And then you kind of play and have fun with it. And then it's like, whoa, I can all of a sudden dream again. I can all of a sudden dream bigger. And so you start to branch out and believing for bigger things. And then you're like, maybe I can quit my job. Maybe I can, have a different house or have actually more money than what my education or my, my job caps me out at. Like those are some major paradigms people are unprocessing, deprogramming from. So yeah, it's absolutely possible. We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't possible. So it's just so exciting and like it's fun too because it works.
I like that. That
Yeah.
was a good question and good response.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like that, we forget how to dream. relate that back to, you know, going the crushing of creativity in the schools and, you know, stop daydreaming. It's like, no, that's actually probably the best thing you could
Best thing.
be doing. It's just we don't call it daydreaming. We call it something else. And there's actually a process to this and how it works and whatnot. I mean, these are concepts that, let's be honest, a kindergartner could get behind and understand if we just had the impetus to really want to get this into schools and things like that, like Napoleon Hill wanted to. You know, I always say that.
Well, exactly. That's what kids do. They dream, they color,
Yeah.
they create pictures. Like that's where our imagination starts forming is when we're children and it gets beat out of us. Like, stop it. Focus.
Yeah,
Be robots.
exactly. And, you know, all of those things like, no, you know, if you do you think you can be that like really, you know, like the doubt and it's like instead of knowing like, you know, even through my own parenting, like I didn't really know how to support somebody through their dream. You know what I mean? Like didn't I knew that what was happening around me did not feel right, and I did not believe that, like what you had said, I just think there's a better way. I just
Yeah.
didn't know what that way was until I found it. And I was like, yeah, this is what I meant about that and all of that. But I just commend you too for you know, a lot of people like in my situation, like I lost my job. So I was sort of like in that moment, like forced
Mhm.
to act.
Right.
I mean, I could have taken it in two different ways. I went all in positive and just boom, like took off. But you know, you were very intentional about that. Like this was not something that was thrust upon you. You had an a solid career. I mean, you know, all of this, and you really went and like took that kind of people would say a risk for yourself, you know. And it was funny. I was talking today with a community, and we were talking about, you know, taking those like brave and bold actions, you know, like that. And it just occurred to me, I'm like, but what if it's like, it's not brave and it's not bold? What if it's just natural? Like, this is
Right.
naturally you know, but you have been so conditioned to think that being you and saying what's on your mind or, you know, sharing how you view the world is that requires some sort of bravery or it's a boldness. But I think I want to get people to think like, no, you know what? That's just natural, just to be you and, you know, diving into what you want and moving toward that. So I just love everything that you've said so far today. So let me let you keep talking because you're full of wonderful wisdom.
Well,
Um,
it's funny what you just said. You know, the permission, like it's now it's considered, you know, brave if we speak up or whatever. And it's just like that's the natural way. I've noticed myself after I've been out of corporate, after I've been out of like kind of the grooming of hospital administration as a supervisor, as a director. It's like, you know, you go through so many HR things, you go through so many employee engagement things. This is how you talk to people. This is how you do this. This is how you know, and even in real estate with negotiations and other corporate, I was in commercial stuff too there. So it's just like, wow, once you get out of that and you see yourself in a different way and how you communicate in a different way, it's like, wow, I can actually say what's on my mind without
Wow.
HR, you
yeah.
know, being worried about the supervisor. She's, you know, she's being a little testy right now or whatever. It's like, no, I can not do this anymore. I can speak what I feel and I'm living my purpose now and I don't have to worry about, you know, a black mark on my record. Am I going to get my 3% raise? I have to make sure to zip it because you want your paycheck, you know. Like I don't have to worry about that anymore, but I catch myself maybe not saying exactly what I mean sometimes because we were had guardrails up, you know, and now it's
Mm.
like, no, I don't have to worry about what people think as much in a totally different way. You know, I don't
Wow.
nobody's over me.
Yeah, I
Like,
think this is
then I would,
very human. Like what you're saying is so
yeah,
totally like I was in human resources for 30 years. So I know, and I also worked in local government where, every word you say is like recorded, basically, and like can be subject to public record, like
yeah,
all of this.
yes.
So for, being HR and being this, and I always felt like I was just like a mouthpiece for somebody else. It was never
Mm,
really what I felt,
Totally.
like down in the core, it was like parroting out this message. Now I had, a role in like shaping that message and stuff like that. But still, if, at the end of the day, um, it wasn't my decision per se for certain things, and I could have input, but if I didn't agree totally, I had to just buy in and be like, okay, yeah, I agree. And go forward with that. And I think a lot of times we lose our actual sense of self at work because we are playing a role there. We're not
Yeah.
really representing ourselves. We're representing, you know, a company and their
the com-
mission. And
Yeah.
so all of the parts of us and like what supports us and our purpose, all of that gets lost. And yeah. So and the things like employee engagement and all this, I could go on for hours about that. That's for another time.
Yeah, well, I went from drinking the Kool-Aid to completely being a hostile. I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, I
yeah.
went through all of that. I'm like, see you later. I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And it can bring you to that too. I think like there are a lot of politics, even if you're not in government at work. And I don't mean like, national, I just mean like office politics and
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that you have to, navigate through. But just thinking like what the workplace would actually be like if people act and had these principles already with them, right? And were able to you would see things so differently. I mean, the whole,
Well, exactly. Well, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but like
no,
the
no. Mhm.
thing I noticed as I was growing in my leadership skills, as I was growing in these entrepreneurial skills, when I was a supervisor and I was trying to amplify my employees or make sure they, met all their marks um, to get their raise or to improve their engagement, to make them more happy. It's like, what do you want? It was always more time and money, but it's like I couldn't give them that. I could only give them so much money if and only
Mm,
if they made the marks. I couldn't give them all the time off. I couldn't give them free days off. So it's like there's only one ladder to the top in corporate or in that type of role. Like I can only uplift you so far. But when you're
mm,
in when you're in an entrepreneurial setting, you can do that way more than ever. Like people can't really dream that much in corporate. And some people are fine with it. Some people are never meant to be entrepreneurial, and some people are just okay. Like I'm okay being in this role. But for those of us that have learned differently, we're like, oh, that's not the way anymore.
a
And
little different.
through those pain points, in the latest pain point, I'd gotten into real estate. I became an executive director of an affordable housing nonprofit. And I thought, it was 2020, I'd found my dream job. Well, other things were happening, and I was just like, okay, this isn't what I want either. This is a great resume builder, but I'm just like, man,
Mm,
I'm still not feeling the mission. I'm still not feeling connected to like what God wants me. Like, this is a great landing point. It's a soft landing. It's steady. It's probably the most money I'd ever made, at that time. And people again were like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving something great again? And I'm like, well, my aunt had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She fought the battle for 3 years. My mother went through cancer for a fourth time. And I'm just like, enough. I'm done. Like, I'm done with this suffering. There's a better way. Like, God was like, you're getting back into health and wellness. So I like got all my health coaching certifications, pushed myself through that, took the money, invested in myself. My aunt passed away. We couldn't save her, but we were able to save my mom with all my skills that I have now acquired and moved into because I kept stepping out in faith and
oh,
listening
wow.
to God, and we were able to save her. Like we literally detoxed her from cancer at 80 years old. Like
Wow.
like that's the mission we're on now. Like people can heal themselves with
Yeah.
my business. So
Yes.
it's just like, okay, this is what you get when you listen and you keep stepping out. You don't need to know the how. A year ago, when I
Mhm.
left that and I started in Napoleon Hill and talking to Cleona, talking to everybody, getting involved, I had no idea this is where I would be. But I knew the bigger vision of what I wanted in life, and I just kept stepping out in faith because and spending the money. And it's like, oh, okay. But I had no problems getting student loan money for thousands and thousands of dollars for my expensive degree.
Mhm.
Why why am I not spending this money on myself that I know will have so much more abundance in the world and bring more to people? This is more towards God. Like he's got me, he'll be fine, he'll get you back.
Right.
It's like spend the money, he'll get you back. So that's where I'm at. And I feel like I'm living the how, and the how just keeps
Appear.
going. There's always new hows, the next levels we're doing.
Well, speaking of the how, in I think it's the fourth step in developing like a burning desire. Napoleon Hill talks about creating a plan for achieving our goal. So could you maybe talk about that? Like, um, how do you develop your own plan, and in what ways does like having that sort of keep you on track for what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I think you have to be a little bit okay with the plan revealing itself as you go. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just
Wow.
have to listen to figure out that next step. And once you take it, then the next part of the plan gets revealed. And you have to be okay with that. That's what separates people, entrepreneurs from employees. In my mind, just in my experience, or people who want a bigger than just being self-employed, having their little business. You have to be okay with the gray area. It is not black and white. There's nothing guaranteed except for what we tell ourselves and what we align with. And you just have to be okay to follow and just go a little bit, just keep pushing. And it's then the next step is revealed. So it kind of takes the pressure off you, but there's a lot of onus on you to take that step because then you're rewarded. It's like, okay, you're listening, here's the next little crumb. And you have to be okay with crumbs until you keep following till the end. And it's never the end. At least for me, I want to keep going. Like,
Right.
let's go big. Like, I'm never gonna like stop. It's never gonna be an end point.
Would you
You know,
mind, and if you're okay to share this level of detail, and if you're not, that's totally fine too. But could you give an example of like, because you talked about the next step will just sort of appear, you take the action. Could you like just give an example of that specifically so our listeners can understand what that like, not just in words describing it, but can like understand like this is what you specifically mean.
Yeah. So, when my aunt was diagnosed with cancer, she did all the traditional therapies, and I was trying to direct them to, have some alternative sources, just get all the info. I was still on my other job, and it just, things weren't working. I mean, this went on for like 3 years, but, the suffering of everything was just a lot. And I just knew there was a better way. So I started getting my certifications as a health coach. I'm like, okay, here's the first thing. And it's always been on my mind to do. It's always been something I wanted to do. And I'm like, this is it. This is when you're getting it. So while I was still in my job, my aunt was going through her stuff, my mom was going through her stuff. I started getting my health coaching certification, just kind of knocking it out as I was working, doing it off my off hours. And so I didn't know where that would end. I just knew this is the time to start doing it. So I started to do that. Then I finished that. Then I started my own healing journey of different things. And so I knew the gal who's now my business partner, I knew her as a practitioner. So she and I started working together on my health and wellness. And as I was going through that, she was like, oh, you're doing more nutrition things, you're doing more health coaching things. She's like, I have a huge caseload of people. I would love to be able to have somebody help with that nutrition side because like she can handle the blood, dry blood analysis and the homeopathic side. She's like, I really need somebody to help handle the nutrition. I'm like, okay, let's keep chatting. And so I just kept, I didn't know exactly what direction I was going to go next, but I knew that health coaching just wasn't specific enough for me. I have a medical mind. It wasn't sciencey enough for me. So I'm like, that's not good enough. I need to keep going with something more specific. I wanted to nail it. Like I didn't know what it was yet, but I wanted to nail it. It wasn't it yet. So I got a more certification. I was talking to Amy and Molly. They directed me to Napoleon Hill. I didn't know where that was going to end up, but I knew those girls knew success. Talking to Cleona, my aunt since then had passed away. I quit my job. I was like, I'm already out. Like, so I had nothing to lose. I just was like, okay, I'll spend this money and start this process too. I know down the road it will lead somewhere. So I just kept knocking away at some certifications because I had a lot of areas of specialty that I was interested in. I'm like, well, maybe this will all come together somehow. So as I kept going in those certifications, the next thing was revealed. So then I became a raw foods cancer coach. And then I found the certified detox and lymphatic iridology certification. And then it was like, oh, now me and my business partner saw how the combo of our skill set could really bring health and healing to people and helping them be empowered to heal themselves. We're like, okay, we have something here. And that's how you just keep following your tugs. So those were the specific steps that I
That's awesome.
followed to
Yeah.
end up here, and it's still going. Like we just launched like a few weeks ago. So it's
Wow.
still new for us, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
been a journey.
for
Exciting.
sure. I love that. I love hearing just kind of that. And I think that it will help listeners to kind of get more of a sense of that stuff. I also want to let our audience know that we're name dropping here. So I just want to clue them in into who, we're talking about. Cleona O'Hara, she is the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Institute and really, truly just a phenomenal woman.
Yeah.
An amazing leader and just like a heart of like just love and light exuding everywhere. And you mentioned Amy, I think Amy Moser and Molly Croker, and they're also out in Nebraska and working particularly with I think empowering women
Yeah.
most specifically, right? And you all just had an amazing event out there. I know from, Nick's and my affiliation in the Napoleon Hill Institute as well. Like, you are truly like leading the way for this stuff out there for women and for all of this. So it's so awesome to be part of that and to be like share in your, energy and your success like that. But I did just want to give a shout out to Cleona, Amy, and Molly, because I know all of the amazing work that they're doing, especially for women. And these are like some of the finest humans, I've ever encountered. So I just wanted to give that a little plug for them since we were talking about them.
When Napoleon Hill says, create in your mind a fixation of that what you want, what success looks like for you. How did you create this fixation for that what you desire?
Yeah, well, I think a lot came from, I'd seen so much suffering when I was in healthcare and then so much suffering with my family that it came from a pain point. I wanted to end that suffering. So I was fixated on finding a solution to this problem that was nagging at my heart, nagging like if I'm going through this, I mean, I'd seen plenty of people in the hospitals going through what they were going through, my family going through what they were going through. So I'm like, how do I stop this problem or at least decrease it, minimize it for others and give them back control? Because a lot of it, you don't have control, like, but there's so much we can do to get that control. So that was a pain point for me. I was fixated on finding a solution. And so I had a lot of anger, a lot of resentment toward our system, our healthcare systems, sometimes with the paradigms on how we were raised. Like, you go through this like awakening a little bit and then it kind of pisses you off, It's like, okay, I have to find a solution to this. So that was the beginning of my fixation. I wasn't really even thinking about how do I go and make a bunch of money. I was pissed off at the
Yeah.
system and how we're being treated as humans, and that's not the life God wants us to live. So my fixation became like problem solving. Like I could help
Mm.
put control back in people's hands so they don't have to go through the suffering, or they can minimize it, or it's more in their control. So that's where my fixation came. And so the business plan came out of that problem solving need. So I was fixated on problem solving, how to build a structure around that solution, basically. And that's what I did.
It sounds like this is a true you like burning desire that you have. That way you're able to help.
Absolutely. And I know that because now I make a ton of videos on YouTube, Instagram. I'm like bullhorn out there. Like I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop, you know,
Wow.
masterminding with my business partner. Okay, what are we doing next? How are we doing this? Let's keep going with, we have to pull ourselves back a little bit. It's like, okay, in due time, just keep on mission, but I have no problems thinking about what people are going to think of me if I go live on Facebook and talk about stuff, or if I make a quick YouTube video and throw it out there. I didn't even edit it. I don't care. Like I am
Julie's cheering you on.
not saying my thing. I'm saying I'm delivering the message. I'm just the messenger. This is God's work. So I'm like, I don't care if my hair or whatever,
Okay. Wow.
it's just like the message needs to get out and the right people will hear it. You're doing it with authenticity. You're doing it with, your integrity and your like, it's not about me, it's about the message. So
Wow. Wow.
that's
And-
how I know it's real, because otherwise I would have been like, oh, I might need to, or do it this way, or it has to be perfect, and it's never perfect. So just push it out there. That's how you know you're on mission.
Wow. Wow.
I agree with that too. Yeah, totally. Like, and I think that was difficult for me personally. Like I couldn't detach from what it was that like I couldn't detach from the mission. Like I know in the same thing, I see, my mission is solving a pain point and a suffering point as well, albeit in employment. But it's, you know, I take that personally. And I
Yeah.
feel like this is my desire and my mission, but I'm like, but my desire isn't really that. It's for people to be able to be happy and healthy and fulfilled. And,
Mhm.
so basically it's for them to have this information and to know how to apply it. And, but to separate from that, because, how did you sort of detach, because at some point you do have to, right? I mean, like for me, it became with the videos. I'm like, oh my God, look at my face, look at this, look, I'm talking and just say, I got to a point where I could separate it, but I just want to hear like, because you're very confident in that and you're like, oh yeah, I just put the videos out and I just like, were you always like that? Or did you go through some period where you had to say, okay, this is bigger than me?
Yeah. Well, my undergraduate degree is in opera. So I
Oh.
was on stage a lot. I had to memorize my lines. You had to look a certain way, so I was very, and then when you're in the spotlight as a supervisor, or, you're on media for a hospital, or you're on billboards, like you're a certain way. And so once you like personally identify and you realize you're God's messenger, like you're working for him, like you get over yourself. Like you're not a diva anymore. This isn't about you. So I just shove the diva away and become like the healer. The healer doesn't care. She gets
Wow.
the message out, So that's how I had to check it at the door. It's about other people. Somebody is out there, like my aunt and my mom, like somebody is out there who's ready to be saved and healed with this message because I'm preventing what happened to them, So there is so much urgency to get this out there that I don't have time to be perfect. There's urgency. Like people need this message. So it's not about me. You get on the bullhorn and you start talking, and the right person will hear at the right time. So it's
Wow, I
like
love
I
that.
just had to get over myself and like it doesn't have to be perfect. God will direct this to the right person and just open your mouth.
Thank you for
You know,
that.
I'd like to make a comment about that, Julia. So I was very inspired this week during the Think and Grow Rich study. We're reading the book of with the
Outwitting
devil,
the devil.
outwitting the devil.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, me
So
too. Yeah.
Napoleon Hill's speaking that he was on a walk one evening, and he heard a voice say to go to Philadelphia. And he said that when he heard this voice, it was so audible in his mind where he stood up and kind of saluted, like kind of stood at attention. And then, the voice said, go get $50 from your brother-in-law. Remember, this is early 1900s.
Yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
so he went to his brother-in-law, asked for $50. He went on his way to Philadelphia. And as he's going through the process, all these questions keep on coming to him. And it dawned on me, that's the reasoning. Then Napoleon Hill mentioned something that really, really inspired me. He said, I had to realize that I was on orders. If I'm on orders on a mission, I'm not able to ask questions. When we hear that still small voice, or we hear our other self, we have to apply faith. We have to take personal initiative and action. And a lot of times our paradigm is so, the reasoning kicks in, like, am I really able to do this? But then we remind ourselves, like, no, I am on an order right now. I have a mission. It's not my place to ask questions. I just have to take action. And so I'm hearing that's what I'm hearing a lot from you, Julia. And also I want to mention to you both. It sounds like so to me it sounds like this is like pure women empowerment
Mhm.
from what you're from the words that you're using in your background, and Julie as well, her background and where she's at now. So I'll just add the masculine, and I'll just say this is people. This is this is for all people to empower ourselves. That way we are living our purpose. That way we're not drifting through life. And that's true happiness when we have joy to wake up and do and to perform our labor of love. So I appreciate that. Well, what all you have mentioned, Julia.
Well, and to add to that masculine feminine balance, when I was in real estate, I felt like I had to be, especially in commercial real estate. That's an all boys club. Like I had to be like one of the guys. I golfed. I liked sports. I had these masculine characteristics that helped me be successful in that and to survive the man's world with that. Excuse me. But now, like I get to come back into my more feminine because it's natural for us as females to be the nurturers, to be the healers, to be the helpers, and it's like we need the men to go be the masculine, to go be the protectors and stuff. So I feel like more at peace because I'm able to feel more balanced in my feminine because I don't have to go be that masculine, you know, out of balance version that I felt like I had to be in that world. Now I get to like, oh, be me again, the healer, the imbalanced masculine, feminine, piece of that. So I think, the more women that, we're empowered when we're in a balance with our masculine, feminine, and it's, that's what it's more about to me. So I'm happy to be more in balance with that now.
That's awesome. Wow. I have a question to, just going into adversity, that can feel like a test from the universe. So, what's a hardship or setback that you look at now, like looking back at it, that you realized was completely necessary for your growth? You know, because Napoleon Hill talks about finding a seed of in adversity, like finding the seed of the equivalent opportunity or benefit. And so what was that for you?
I have two bigger ones that I can just recall right now from the two different areas. So when I was in speech pathology, I was an interim director. They were looking for somebody who had a PhD to be the director. Well, I just had my master's. I didn't have my PhD, but I was a good people person, and I was able to go out and rally the troops, start some directed research with some other hospitals and other organizations, you know, but I didn't have the PhD. So no matter how good I did, they're going to ditch me for the gal they were looking for, you know, no matter how great I was at whining and dining and getting, you know, people in front of us. And that happened. Like they found the person and I'm like, okay, bye-bye. We're done with you. So it's just like, okay, I didn't have those letters behind my name, but my skills were ignored. I felt like, you know, but that was just reality of it. They wanted somebody with that skill set or with those letters, and I had to be okay with that. If I wanted to stay there, I had to be okay with that reality. So, and I was for a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, that kind of sucks, but I'll go back to being a supervisor and just it's not what I wanted. I was having way more fun being a director because I got to be out there. I got to do more things. But the reality is that's what they wanted. So if I stayed there, that's what I had to be okay with. Well, it turns out I wasn't okay with it, and I started my exit plan out of there. When I was in an executive director with an affordable housing nonprofit, there were some things happening politically in the different sections. Just some other things were happening where I felt like I could be targeted or just like, oh, this it's not even safe here either, you know? So it feels like,
Mm.
wow, I still don't own my own life, even though I have a dream that job that's pretty flexible. It's like I still don't have it. I still don't own it. So then that started to open my eyes a little bit more. It's like, okay, you need to figure something else out. You need to leave. And this is even before my aunt started going through her stuff. And then when that happened, then that's like, okay, now the arrows are pointing toward the door, you know. So it's just this cumulative effect, and it made me look back at other times in my life where I'm just like, okay, here's where you hit a wall with things. You had to make a choice. Is this a reality that you want to deal with, or are you going to create your own reality? So, you know, it was seen as adversity. Other people would, you know, you had to make a choice whether you want to stay there or not, despite that. And I made a choice to let it springboard me out because I didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Very
I,
cool.
I just applaud you, Julia, because it's like it sounds like you've always had this awareness about yourself and the awareness, like you know that this didn't make you happy. So you weren't afraid to go back or back to the drawing board and just keep on trying for different avenues. So I applaud you for that.
Well, thank you. And I think people need to understand that about themselves because I felt like maybe at the time it was a weakness because I was just like, gosh, if I am not wanting to do something, I really don't do it. Like I will half it, you know, like you know, and so as an employee, that's not a good skill, but as an entrepreneur, it makes like you will pick the thing. Like we all have to do we all have to do things we don't want to do because it's part of it. But also it's like, boy, I really realized that that was a strength later on for me because then I just stopped putting up with things. It's like, wow, I really wasn't happy doing that, but I kept doing it because I was a good employee or a good little, you know, manager. And now I realize that was a strength and it wasn't a weakness, like I
Mm.
thought it was in the past. So
You
leading into
reframed
that,
it.
yes, yes. And leading into that led me to being able to do what I'm doing now. So if people are feeling that, lead into it because there's stuff on the other side of that.
What advice would you give to someone else that's like in the thick of their career? Like, what advice would you give to someone else that's like in the thick of their career? What advice would you give to someone else that's like in the thick of their career? What advice would you give to someone else that's like in the thick of their career?
Well,
struggle right now, or like facing an adversity, or feeling lost, or just, this sense of exhaustion or overwhelm about, whether they even have what it takes to be successful. Like, what
Right.
do you say to them?
Yeah, I would start writing down your pain points. Start writing down, you can have multiple lists. Like you have to just start getting it out. List your pain points. What are you upset about? What do you wish you could change? And then on the positive side, what do you dream about? What are some of the things that you would love to do? Like you have to get it out. It's cathartic, because it's a mess. So you have to at least put it in some columns, at least, like get the info out of your head so you can just start to analyze. And then if you want to start to make a dream board, even if there's two things on there, just get used to having a dream in your head and seeing it tangibly, up on the board or up on your screen or something, because then it comes out of here. You're going to see it. You want to see it in real life come into form into our 3D. But we got to get it out of our heads first.
Yes.
So just start cutting out pictures. Just start, putting it, on a screen digitally, or put it on a pegboard or something. So that's what I would say, because, just those little incremental steps take it out of here. Because if it just sits here all the time, there's no action with it. So it's like you got to, get it out and put it, that frequency and emotion.
That's great advice. Awesome.
Exactly.
I have one last question. Um, I love music, and I just find that can, like, motivate me toward some other things, or, change my vibration or whatnot. What do you have a particular song, or like a go-to song related to your desire, or something that keeps you like uplifted or focused? Because we're going to be doing a section on here, like, principal playlist, and just to, see what kind of songs people are resonating with, or what like moves them and motivates them toward that. So I'm going to ask like everyone, what is your song?
Well, I feel like there's a lot in being a music major in the past. Like
Oh,
I have
that's right.
so
Yeah.
many different things I can pull from and different stuff like that. So there's some Christian songs. I know Burn the Boats is a great one. I can't even think of the name of the artist right now, but there's just some great Christian songs that I can't even think of the names. I can think of some of the
Yeah.
the lyrics, like leaves the 99, to come find
Oh
you,
yeah.
like, those types of things. So, just some of those, because what people also don't realize is like Think and Grow Rich that's scriptural. Like God told us, like these are the promises that he has for us. And it like out we are supposed to be abundant. We are supposed to have heaven on earth. And we do have the authority as stewards of the earth here. So we aren't just supposed to sit back and be like, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. No, we could actually, he gave us control, he gave us authority. So we are empowered to do something. And it's very biblical and spiritual to be able to do that. And I feel more connected with God doing this stuff, following this work, than I ever have in my entire life. So I know I am spiritually connected and divinely guided. So, that music that has scripture in it, especially maybe that more contemporary feel to it, it just that is very much aligned with what, with my typical mood. Let's trying to get into the zone with things. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. Nick, do you have any other final questions as we wrap up,
Yeah, I
or
just want to make a
comments?
comment. Yeah, I do have a comment. Julia, one thing that I've learned in the last couple years is that we operate on three planes: physical, spiritual, and intellectual. And so what and everything you said, right? Because uh, we are stewards of the earth, right? And I do want to be found a good steward, because I believe that we all come here, we're all born with a set of talents. And when people drift, we're not using our talents that we
Mhm.
that were instilled into us. So I agree with you that we are doing the work because we are we are wanting to help others just become their other selves and become the best where they're able to create their own lives and what they want to experience. So I appreciate that coming from a Christian perspective, but and I agree with you because we're here for a time, right?
Mhm.
And so why not be sure and make the best of our time and not drift and not, we should live on purpose. So I believe that this is the work.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why we're in health and healing. Like if you can get people to heal themselves, then they're able to go and be better humans, raise the collective vibe. They can then figure out their purpose uh in life too. So it's like when you're healthy and you're connected, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I'm kind of cleaned out. I know my mission now. Now I'm gonna go, you know, on that procedure. So it's just super fun because it's just not about health and healing and detoxing. It's about, being in aligned for your
Yeah.
purpose and in your mission. So it's just one little piece of it.
Julia, where can people find you if they want to get this information? Because I think, everything you're doing around health and all of this is amazing. Tell us, where do we find you?
Yeah. So we have nourishlifeapothecary.com is our website. We have an Instagram page as well. We have a private community called Nourish Life Warriors on Facebook. And me and my business partner, coach and train on there. We've made it minimal, like $89 a year. We teach you how to heal yourselves. And then we also do our one-to-one clinical treatment with dry blood analysis and lymphatic iridology and raw foods cancer coaching. But basically we're kind of under the umbrella of acid alkaline. And if you have some autoimmune symptoms, like we're pretty much able to to take on everything that you're dealing with. So we can at least see you and analyze what's going on with your body and get you on a path to Wellville. So yeah, nourishlifeapothecary.com is the best place to find us.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much for being with us today. This was just a thoroughly insightful and impactful conversation this morning. I resonated with so much of what you said, and I'm so grateful that you were here to share that with us today, and keep doing the amazing work you're doing. I'm really inspired by you, so keep going
Thanks.
with it.
I appreciate being on here. I really appreciate it.